welcome back. This is another edition of Pep Talk. This week, my guest today is Chandler Holland. Chandler, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing pretty good. Just another great day to be alive, huh, Andrew?
Yeah, another great day to be alive. Another great day for sports. Let's get right into it. On Sunday was the biggest game of all sports, basically, which is the Super Bowl. Overall thoughts of the Super Bowl, Chandler? Personally, I think a lot of people were expecting the Patriots to control most of the game, but it ended up being the complete opposite. The Eagles looked like they dominated most of the game, besides the last few minutes, maybe the in between around the midway through the fourth. But what was your expectations going into the game?
Well, my expectations going into the game is I really thought that the Patriots were going to take care of business. I thought it was going to be a really close game. I thought the final score would be in the low 20s, maybe upper 20s, but a 3 to 4 point ball game. But complete different outcome. It was a shootout. Really, it came down to the Patriots. They needed just that one stop on a third down or one of the fourth downs, and they probably would have won the game. Tom Brady, 505 yards passing. I think it was the most in Super Bowl history. 3 touchdowns. He played absolutely amazing. But the way Nick Foles handled the whole situation, coming in, stepping in with Carson Wentz throughout the final couple games in the regular season, then into the postseason, he played the best football I think he's ever played, and he's been put into the right system, and it's shown how good he can be in a way if he's put into the right system. But back to the game, it was really Patriots needed one stop, and they could have won the game. They just couldn't come up with that one stop, and the Eagles were just too tough to handle. I just wasn't expecting them. The Patriots didn't have a great defense this year. One of the worst defenses they've had probably in the Belichick era, and it showed. It showed where they're lacking. They didn't get any pressure on Nick Foles. They couldn't step up in coverage and get a deflection that they needed to get the game in their hands. But like you said, it really was the Eagles just had complete control of the whole game.
Yeah, I think what we saw was see if I can readjust the mic there. Yeah, Nick Foles. We ended up seeing. He had play like you said the best football of his career. Now the real question is with Nick Foles, if you're the Philadelphia organization, do you look to trade this guy now? I mean, he's played well the last few games with the one side. Do you try and get some trade value out of him going into this next offseason in the draft?
See, that might be the $1 million contract or $1 million question, I should say. Is you have Carson Wentz, who complete tore his ACL, but looks like he's making a nice moves, coming back, some nice recovery time. I think he'll be ready to go. He might miss the first game of the year. I don't know. I don't expect him to play training camp or any of the preseason games. So you got to ask your question: do you want to roll the dice with Nick Foles and keep him a couple weeks into the season and maybe try and trade him? But his value right now is going to be at an all-time high. You could see a team like the Arizona Cardinals, I think, obviously still need a quarterback. Maybe the Buffalo Bills. These teams they're going to offer you probably a nice load of draft picks or something for him, maybe a second rounder. I don't know if you necessarily can get a first rounder for Nick Foles. But my thing is, right now, we've seen Nick Foles in other offenses, and we've seen how he can operate. There's times if he's put into the right system, he's a system quarterback, and you're seeing this throughout the league. Is the system quarterback way? If you find a right system for the right quarterback, you're gonna succeed as a quarterback. You saw with Case Keenum in Minnesota; he was put into the right system and really had the best year of his career. So now you take a Nick Foles who, in this Eagles system, this RPO run pass option system, it really took off. But if you put him back into an offense that doesn't really do that, is he going to be able to flourish like he did these last few weeks? I don't know. I don't think the Eagles will trade him just because Carson Wentz probably won't be ready to go by week one. It wouldn't be surprise me either way if he is ready to go. So I think they can kind of hang on to him, just have that little insurance. And once Carson Wentz kind of comes back and takes off, maybe you're looking at a guy that gets traded by the trade deadline. It's tough to say right now, but I think he'll be an Eagle going into next season unless a team offers something just high for Nick Foles, and it's going to be too good of an offer to pass up.
Yeah, we had seen Nick Foles a few years ago. Had a pretty decent season. I think I picked him up on fantasy like the season after, and it was complete garbage. I think he threw for like 27 or 20 touchdowns like that year before, or something like that with the Eagles.
Well, let's remember he was the guy I believe threw 7 touchdowns in one game against the Raiders that one season. I mean, he I believe he was in the Andy Reid system, which Doug Peterson, I think off the top of my head, was a product of the Andy Reid offense, that RPO type stuff, which I could see the league more going into that just because of how effective it is and how hard it is to stop. So again, yeah, he was put into an Andy Reid style offense and he did well. Then he got traded to the Rams again, I believe, and struggled there with Jeff Fisher and his type of offense.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with him in the offseason. I mean, you can keep him if you want for the first couple games to see um, if Wentz is healthy or not, and they might even play it safe with them just because it's basically that's their star pupil, so they don't want to go too eager on him to come back. But if we move it on to the other side of the spectrum, if we talk about the Patriots, a buddy of ours, Preston Primus, had said that it's the end of an era for the New England Patriots. We saw their defensive coordinator. He got shipped off to, excuse me, to Detroit, and then the offensive coordinator had a set. We had heard he was going to the Colts, and he ended up pulling back and saying he is not. He's going to be. I think he's going back to the Patriots as their offensive coordinator. What do you think's going on? Are we going to expect the same this next year, what we had this year for the Patriots, or are we going to see something different?
That it's so tough to tell right now, but if I was a betting man, it's hard. It's so hard. As long as Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are together, it's so hard to bet against them. So I could see them again. They play in a weak division. I don't see the Jets, the Bills, or the Dolphins really knocking them off. So I fully expect them to win their division, and they'll probably win 11 plus games again this next year. But they do need to figure out that defensive side of the ball. They need to draft a pass rusher. They need someone that can get after the quarterback. Again, they had plenty of injuries. They lose Edelman in the beginning of the year, torn ACL. He'll be back. I mean, that's a key part of the offense. And the offense really didn't take a dip too much, but obviously they missed him in some occasions. Will Gronkowski be back? That's another question. We'll find out here probably in a couple weeks or so if he's going to come back. I think he will come back, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does ultimately retire because he'll probably make a lot of money after football. Might even make more money after football. This guy's looking at a deal where watch out keeping up with the Kardashians because he could get a good reality show like that, and people are going to watch him and pay money to watch him do whatever Gronk does off the field because he's an interesting character. So you could lose him, but defensively they need to figure out the pass rush. They get Dante Hightower back. That was a big loss for them as well. Then they just need to reassure up that secondary that was blowing up in the Super Bowl. But it's interesting talking about the Josh McDaniels thing. Said he was going to go to Indianapolis to the Colts to be their next head coach. But Robert Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, pretty much talked him out of it, gave him more money in his contract. And I think my perspective of that is that they said to Josh McDaniels, hey, okay, Bill Belichick probably has a couple more years left in him, assuming that. I could see him coaching for maybe 2 or 3 more years. That's just my guess. And I think Josh McDaniels is like, all right, then they must have promised him the head coaching gig when Belichick leaves. Because right now, I can't remember who said this, but I totally agree with them. It might have been Cowherd on FS1 said that all right, Josh McDaniels is pretty much screwed himself out of a head coaching job anywhere else. I wouldn't want to hire him because I don't know if he's going to backstab me and decline and go back to the Patriots or what he did in Denver. That was just a salty deal. There's a lot of sketchiness going on there. And so I think his only shot at getting a head coaching job again is in New England.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I kind of laughed at it when I first saw the news. I was kind of like, that is kind of a Patriots like move for that to happen. But yeah, I think as long as Brady's there, Belichick's going to be there. I feel like I think once Brady leaves, there's a good chance Belichick might say adios. to the Patriots organization because I don't expect Brady to play for no more than 4 years.
Again, he wants to. I believe his guru said, Alex Guerrero, I think his name is, said, really, you can be at top form until you're 45, or if you treat your body the way you should treat your body, you should be able to do these types of things until you're 45. I expect Tom Brady to play till he's 45. I don't know if Belichick's going to coach Brady until he's 45. Maybe that'll be a thing Tom Brady wants to prove. Maybe that's on his list, what he wants to prove people wrong. Belichick retires. He decides to come back for another year and tries to win under a Josh McDaniels or whoever it may be that will take over the Patriots. So there's a scenario, too.
Yeah, it says Tom Brady. I think he's 40 right now.
Yep, he just turned 40 this last summer, so he'll be 41 entering next season, I believe.
Yeah, so that means he still has about 4 years left. But there was another thing a drama that we have with the Super Bowl is Malcolm Butler not being played at all the entire, most of the game basically.
I actually don't think he took a snap at all.
Yeah. You had told me earlier, before were on the show, that Malcolm Butler had some. Was it a curfew issue with?
Now that was the original report that came out that said he got caught with weed. He went to a concert or something, then he missed a curfew. There's other reports that he just had a bad week of preparation and practice, so they didn't want to throw him out there. If you obviously can't do good at practice, the Belichick's way is probably like you're not going to do good in the game. We don't really know. No one really knows right now besides him or the Patriots why he didn't play. There's tons of speculation out there. I don't have anything because I really don't know what went on, why he didn't play. That would be an ultimate Belichick move too. If hey, you didn't practice good, you're not going to play because I don't trust you out there. That wouldn't surprise me at all because it's Bill Belichick and he demands the most out of his players out of any coach I think that's ever coached in the NFL. And if he didn't practice well, you weren't going to play. I think that's a real possibility of what happened. Now, I think Malcolm Butler's contract's up. He'll be playing for another team, so he's trying to kind of save himself from these reports that if a team's going to want to sign him and he's going to want to make a lot of money because he is a good cornerback. I won't say he's a very elite quarterback, but he's solid. He's good. I think he had a downer of a year this year. He didn't perform the way a lot of people thought he would. So he will not be back with the Patriots. That's my best guess. But he's trying to save himself because he came out and said that all this is false. And then Tom Brady commented on his Instagram post saying he supports him and stuff. So if Tom Brady supports you in that way, then you must have not done something wrong, like outside of the team facility of missing a curfew, having weed, or going to a concert. So obviously it might have just been a practice thing. That's my best guess and perspective on the deal.
Yeah, I think practice is key for most people besides Allen Iverson. So I mean,
well, we're talking about practice now.
We're gonna move on to the Vikings plans. We've heard in this last week, Kirk Cousins said that the Vikings was one of his top landing spots. Do you think that overall what is the likelihood of Kirk Cousins coming and being in a Vikings uniform come August?
I don't think it's very likely, but it's so hard to say. Wherever Kirk Cousins goes in this NFL free agency, that's where all the chips are going to fall, and you're going to know more and more where other players are going to go with the Case Keenums, the Bradfords, Teddy Bridgewaters of the world, the other quarterbacks that are going to be free agents as well. Wherever Kirk Cousins goes, that's ultimately where everybody else is kind of going to go. So really, we're going to have to wait until Kirk Cousins decides where he's going to go. Now, if he's going to be in a Minnesota Vikings jersey, I don't think he will, just because I think the number is going to be too much. He's going to be demanding 90-plus guaranteed millions of dollars. That one, $90 million guaranteed or more. Probably be looking at 100 plus by the end of the day. I don't think the Vikings are going to be willing to pay that because they still got to pay Stephon Diggs. You got to pay Eric Kendricks. You got to bring back Anthony Barr, excuse me. Danielle Hunter is going to have to get paid here soon. I don't know necessarily if they're going to bring all those guys back, but that's your young core right there, and you'd like to keep that young core as much as possible. So bringing in a guy like Kirk Cousins, you're obviously not going to have the chance to bring back all them guys. I ultimately think Kirk Cousins is going to end up in Denver because I think they're going to have the most money to offer him. They still got a good defense, and I could see why the Vikings would be number one on his list over Denver because you're looking at a team that made the playoffs and the team that didn't make the playoffs. I think that's ultimately what he's looking at. Denver's defense is aging a little bit. The Vikings still have their young core that they can improve on and get better. So I honestly don't know what the Vikings are going to do, but if they get Kirk Cousins, I'll be actually very surprised actually if that happens just because of what they're possibly throwing away in the future standpoint with their young core players.
I think as Vikings fans, it'd be very exciting to see him in a Vikings uniform, but at the same time, it's like we just kind of placed all our chips into like one basket.
Exactly.
And now,
Exactly. Yeah, if you do out go out and get Kirk Cousins, this is the guy you're rolling with for probably 5 years. Four plus five. More than likely, it's going to be a 5-year deal or something like that. Yeah, it's going to be on Rick Spielman and Zimmer's hands of like this is your guy now. You have to go out and win with him if they do sign him. But another factor is of where the Vikings are going to go with a quarterback is whoever they bring on as offense coordinator. They're going to have such a huge input on who they want as their quarterback. So once that deal gets taken care of, more will understand of possibly speculating where they'll go with the quarterback situation.
yeah. And then speaking of coaches, it's kind of have a game here of where we think people are going to end up and who's going to have jobs or not. I know, and we had in talks was the Seahawks offensive coordinator that got fired by Seattle. I personally don't want him to be there. That offense just looked kind of like it was in disarray. With Pat Schumer gone, it is a tear. It does bring a tear to your eye because he did so much with them. Who is there really anyone out there that you would want as your offensive coordinator? I mean, like I don't know if you want the Seahawks OC out there for Minnesota, do you, or someone else you want?
Right now, my two guys that I would be very open to bringing in, excuse me, to the Minnesota Vikings would be first of all their QB's coach that has been in the Vikings organization for ever since Brad Childress has been with the Vikings, and that's Kevin Stefanski, who coached the running backs, tight ends. Now was the quarterbacks coach. So he's been in the Vikings organization for a very long time, for 10 plus years, and I think he's very deserving of a offensive coordinator position. Now, wherever the Giants go, if the Vikings don't take him, I think he'll go to New York and be the OC under Pat Shermer there. Now, the other option that I would really like is John D. Flippo. I can never say his name right. Flippo or something like that. He was the Eagles quarterback coach. He's 39 years old. People have been ranting and raving about this guy. Supposedly, he'll be a head coach in the next couple of years. So it'd be one of those deals you bring him on, and hopefully you can win a Super Bowl with him in a matter of a couple of years because he'll probably get looked at that high of regards and be a head coach somewhere. He's my choice. But now the Eagles offensive coordinator, who I don't know his name off the top of my head, is getting interviewed for the Colts head coaching job. So that means this guy, John D. Flippo, will go to more than likely go to Indianapolis to be the offense coordinator there. So there's a lot of moving different parts with the Vikings offensive coordinator spot. Ultimately, I think Kevin Stefanski has the best shot at becoming the next offensive coordinator here, and I'd be okay with that. I mean, he's been in the organization for a long time. He's seen a lot of different offenses, so I think that would be the best bet to go with. And he is known. Excuse me, knows the quarterbacks that have already been in Minnesota with Case Keenum, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Bradford. So I think that's your safe bet if you're a Vikings fan.
Yeah, is it Frank? Is it Reich or Rich? I don't know.
I believe it's Reich.
Reich, yeah.
He was the actually the Buffalo Bills quarterback back in the '90s, and he's the one who led the Bills back in the largest deficit in I believe it was the wild card game against the Raiders back in the '90s because Kelly was out of the game for Buffalo, and he led this huge comeback. They were down by maybe 30 some points. I mean, I wasn't alive, I don't think, at this time. If I was, I was 1 or 2 years old, but just a little NFL history. So yes, he's a longtime NFL backup quarterback, and he obviously did amazing things with him and Doug Peterson. Amazing things with Nick Foles and that Philadelphia Eagles squad.
Yeah, we got lot of options. Um, Vikings can go with now. I don't know if the knowledge on the coaches that are considered free agents, but we got guys like John Fox. Who is the who else got fired this year? It's John Fox. Uh, was it Cleveland kept their
Hugh Jackson still with
yeah.
Cleveland. McAdoo with the
Oh, Jim
Giants.
Caldwell got fired.
Caldwell got fired, replaced by Matt Patricia,
Yeah.
defense coordinator with the Patriots. Uh, I'm
Uh,
drawing blanks on that too.
do you think you can see any of those guys going anywhere this year? I mean, John Fox, I wasn't he a defensive coordinator for quite some time with Denver? Or was he their head coach? He was one of the two.
Um, Say that again. Sorry, I
John
was
Fox, like, was he was their was he Denver's defensive coordinator for a while?
John Fox
He
was.
was the Bears coach, obviously, and he got
Yes,
fired.
he was a head coach with the obviously the Carolina Panthers that went to the Super Bowl, lost to the Patriots, and he was also the head coach of the Broncos when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Seattle Seahawks. So then he went to Chicago for a couple of years, and now he's out of there as well.
Do you think any of these guys are gonna have jobs like a Jim Caldwell? I mean, if they do, I think they're gonna be coordinators. They're definitely not gonna.
Definitely coordinators. I could see. I don't know. Maybe Fox. Fox might be a guy that will take a year or so off, and some team might bring him on. I find it so hard for him
Jack
to
Del
get
Rio, I
another.
think, might get a. He's the other guy that got fired that
Jack,
possibly
that's
get.
right. Replaced by Gruden. Now
Yeah.
that's an obvious one, but it's hard to say. I could see Del Rio getting a defensive coordinator position somewhere. I thought the rumors were he was going to head down to Jacksonville, but I can't remember for sure. But most of these guys I don't think will be getting head coaching gigs anywhere. But I could see them ultimately being offense or defensive coordinators in other places. Ben McAdoo, another Vikings candidate for the offensive coordinator. Let's remember his time before he was in New York. He was with uh, the Green Bay Packers, and he worked with Aaron Rodgers and whatnot. So, I mean, you got to look past what happened in New York, but the man knows the offenses and whatnot. But I would rather have Stefanski.
Yeah, like I just felt like when he went into that head coaching role, it it just didn't fit him quite well. Like you could just tell the offense struggled, the defense
I
was
mean, his first year, they did well. They did well with Odell. Eli Manning was doing well. Yeah, it's just sometimes it just doesn't work out, and I don't know. Maybe he'll get a chance of being a head coach somewhere else sometime. But right now, I think he'll go back to being an offense coordinator position
mhm.
or quarterbacks coach or something like that.
Yeah, just coordinator to head coach in the NFL just seems like a lot of the time it just becomes two different jobs, and it shows. Like some player or coaches or coordinators just can't handle the head coach duties, and the team struggles. But if we go into the off season, looking at just possible rumors, people getting moved, we got guys like Eli Manning, Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, all the Vikings quarterbacks. Um, who who's gonna leave? Do you think? The Vikings three, say, without the Kirk Cousins implications, he's coming in.
Who do you think out of those three
Yeah,
that has the real chance of coming back and b-
I think
being?
yeah, or backup, one of the two, because two of the three are gonna be gone. I think no matter what.
I think Sam Bradford is foregone conclusion. He's gone. I think Sam Bradford is gone. Now, Case Keenum, I think both Case Keenum and Teddy Bridgewater think they're going to go start somewhere. And Case Keenum obviously has a better chance at doing that. But what are you going to pay a guy like Case Keenum? We've seen time and time throughout the years in the NFL, even Nick Foles uh, had a great year, got traded. It just didn't work out. You have to be in the right system in order to succeed if you are a Nick Foles or a Case Keenum. And Case Keenum found the right system with the right team. And how much does Pat Shermer mean to Case Keenum? Obviously, a lot, but is that really going to affect the way he's going to play in the future? That's what we need to find out. That's again the $1 million question. Can Case Keenum be what he was last year without a Pat Shermer? I don't know that answer. That's something that Rick Spielman and Mike Zimmer have to decide because ultimately that's they need to make that decision, and obviously their future is going to ride on that as well. Do you want to franchise tag a guy like Case Keenum? That's going to be $23 million. Either way, it's going to be expensive price for Case Keenum. I think you're safer, not safer, but you're lower money wise is going to be cheaper. That's the word I was thinking of. Your cheaper bet is going to go with Teddy Bridgewater. But how's that knee going to hold up? And people want to knock Teddy for, he only threw 14 touchdowns. But there's the thing that, yes, he had Adrian Peterson there for him, and he was playing in an offense that, again, that just didn't fit his style with that Norv Turner style of offense, chuck it down the field type thing, use a lot of vertical threats and whatnot. It just that wasn't Teddy Bridgewater. That's not what he's really good at doing. He's better off in a shotgun setting, and that's where Adrian Peterson wasn't as good. So they put Teddy more under center, and it wasn't the right fit. So if you believe you've hired the offensive coordinator that best fits Teddy Bridgewater's abilities, you're going to go with him. But I think if you take Teddy, you're obviously going to draft a quarterback some point in the draft and just have a insurance there, or you bring in a veteran guy, which I could see that more happening than drafting a guy, bringing in a veteran to back up Teddy Bridgewater. I it's up in the air. It's really I don't know. It depends again what they do at offensive coordinator.
Yeah. How, would you call me crazy if I said that since Pat Schumer went to the Giants, that Case Keenum could end up at the Giants?
I'm not buying that because right now I believe they're supposed to draft number 2 overall. They're going to take a quarterback there.
Josh Allen, more than likely, or is it
Uh, I
or Josh Rosen? My bad, Justin.
I could see Josh Rosen. Uh, Maybe they'll trade back if they feel like they can get their guy later in the draft, not too far. Maybe swapping with the Jets or someone.
Get
I'm
like
not
a
sure.
Mayfield or something like that.
I see. I don't think they'll go with a Mayfield. I don't think the Mayfield will go to them. I think they're looking either at a Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen. I think they'll go with one of those two guys. I don't think Case Keenum will go there because he feels like he's gonna have to start. Then you draft one of those two young guys and just have Eli Manning for 1 or 2 more years.
Yeah, I think personally, I think that well, at the beginning of the playoffs, I was gonna say, well, I think Eli is gone. He's going to Jacksonville. But now Blake Bortles kind of proved himself in the playoffs that hey, I'm a decent quarterback for all the crap people give me. So I think that might be out of the picture. So I think what's gonna happen is they're gonna end up drafting a quarterback. They're gonna be under Eli Manning's belt for a year or two, and then Eli's gone, and they'll come in and play. I don't expect the quarterback to get drafted for the Giants to be their number one guy.
No, I don't think right away, but you see this year in and year out, a top guy will get drafted, and let's say Eli starts off horrible, you're going to hear fans start yelling and what they're going to want the rookie to play, but especially if you take Sam Darnold, he's 20 years old. I think he turns 21 later this summer. He's going to need a couple years to sit behind a guy like Eli. I don't know what Eli's contract's like, but he's going to need time to sit back and learn. There's no way Sam Darnold is ready just to plug in and play right now. He's definitely going to need a couple years to get accustomed, learn the ropes of the NFL, and I think that would greatly benefit him.
Yeah, I don't think there is there really any quarterback in the draft that is like, hey, I'm ready and I can play now. Baker Mayfield's the only one that really comes to mind to me.
Now, I wouldn't say that about Baker Mayfield because of the type of offense he played in the college, that kind of run and shoot offense at Oklahoma. Didn't do a whole lot of stuff under center, and he's going to need to learn that a little bit better. You saw it in the Senior Bowl. For me, when I watch Baker Mayfield go under center, it kind of seems awkward. I think he needs a little refine of what he's doing. There's no doubt Baker Mayfield has the confidence and the moxie to be a good quarterback. I don't pay attention to the the height and physical nature. If you can play, you can play. Ultimately, that's how I feel. I'd once say he's a plug-in. He still needs to learn how to run an NFL offense. He didn't do a whole lot of being in the huddle, and that's a big thing for some of these college guys is going into the huddle and learning how to pretty much present yourself into a huddle. Like you got 11 other guys or whatever looking at you, 10 other guys looking at you. You need to know how to conduct yourself in a huddle and be that leader out on the field. There's no doubt Baker Mayfield's a great leader. That's the least of the concerns. I just don't think he's necessarily to step up and run an NFL offense right away out of the chute. Now, I honestly think the one guy that could be ready would be a Josh Allen, just because he comes from the Carson Wentz coaching tree with Craig Bowl, who was at NDSU, now at Wyoming, and that's where Josh Allen's from. So maybe he might be the most, but just his inaccuracy issues kind of scare me a little bit.
And I think what concerns me about Allen too is that he didn't play in, like, I don't know, he didn't play in like the toughest division of football either in NCAA. So I mean, he does that really play a factor when drafting these guys? Like, he's a top dog, but like he is from Wyoming, a kind of a unfamiliar football college, I guess.
True. Uh, you could say well, I was gonna say you could say that about Carson Wentz, but he won at that level. He won a lot at NDSU, and FCS has good talented players, as we see year in and year out. People getting drafted out of these FCS schools. Uh, there for some people, for some GMs and coaches, yes, that is a concern who you play and what kind of production you put up against. That's what they want to see. If you are playing lower level teams, what is your production there? Did you have successful years? What's your completion percentage against these schools? In a way, yes, it's going to bother some, but in other ways, it doesn't bother. It depends on what you see on the film, and if you can make the throws and conduct yourself, yeah, you'll be found and you'll be drafted.
Yeah, a lot NFL. Unfortunately, we won't see it for another 6, 7 months, so it's kind of a shame. But should be an interesting off season. But let's switch gears here. Let's go to the NBA. Unfortunate news for the New York Knicks. The unicorn Kristaps Porzingis tore his ACL last night. The Knicks were a team that, in my opinion, were playing better basketball than we expected. They got rid of Carmelo Anthony, got Enes Kanter. In that trade, I believe they got, I forgot who they got in that trade. It was Enes Kanter and then somebody else. But now the Knicks having no superstar at the helm, and then they ended up signing Tim Hardaway Jr. to a massive deal as well. How do you think this team is basically like adios amigos, like for making any playoff run? I mean, they're only a couple games out.
Looking at the standings right now, they're 5 games behind the Sixers for the 8th seed in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think this puts the nail in the coffin. They got to be done. They pretty much rode the tide with whatever Porzingis could do, and now that he's out, I just don't think they have the players or playmakers on the team to overcome that big of an injury.
Yeah, Porzingis was playing like a monster early in the season. I think he was like the highest like scoring player. Now with him gone, it's gonna be tough. And I mean, Chandler, we've seen it this year so far. We've seen it to Porzingis. We've seen it to Boogie Cousins. Like all these big guys going down, and teams that have shown potential. If we go on to the New Orleans Pelicans, they traded for Mirotic. Uh, I think they personally over like valued Mirotic, but now with them being in the playoff picture at the 8th seed, do you think someone like the Jazz have been on the radar for a lot of trades coming this trade deadline? Do you think that we're just hearing things, or can the Pelicans, keep that 8 seed? Because the Clippers aren't officially ruled out yet of the playoffs, even though they did trade their best player.
It's tough to say. If I'm going to put money on one of those three teams out of the Pelicans, the Clippers, and the Utah Jazz to make the playoffs, I'm going to go with the Jazz. I think the Jazz are going to make that stride. They have the guys that have been to the playoffs. I think they can kind of sneak in. I just don't know if Anthony Davis can necessarily carry the Pelicans to an 8 seed or whatnot. And I think Clippers by trade deadline, which is what, tomorrow? Is it tomorrow already?
It's coming up.
It's coming up pretty quick. Uh, I think they're going to ultimately trade DeAndre Jordan. It makes sense to because he's going to be a free agent next year, if I stand correct. So I think he's going to get traded. They did sign Lou Williams today for a 3-year contract. That's surprising. I thought they'd ultimately trade him off too. But I think I could see the Jazz making that to run to get to that 8 seed.
Yeah, unfortunately, my theory was wrong with getting Lou Williams with the Timberwolves. Kind of sad to say.
It's just one of those deals with the Timberwolves. Who are you going to trade to get him, though?
Yeah, the trade looks so appealing, and then kind of thinking it over, it's like there's no way in heck that they're gonna trade 3 players that are basically scrubs to a team that's kind of full of them already. Like, no offense to the Clippers, but it's like.
And that then you needed to you would probably have to throw in that OKC first round pick.
And we don't want to do that.
And you don't want to do that, yeah, because you have so many guys under contract, and you're paying them so much money. You need younger guys in there to fill in because you can't just go out and sign all these guys for contracts. Obviously, you're going to go over the cap and face penalties and whatnot. And it's just going to completely screw up everything. So you need to keep these draft picks to get younger and kind of build up through that way, which hopefully it works out. I mean, with Tibbs drafting, I mean, he did draft Jimmy Butler, Patton down in the G League with Des Moines, Iowa. Looks like a nice player. So we'll see. Tibbs is really going to have to come through, though. Where this team goes is where he's going to draft. And you need to keep that draft pick, I think, and not just throw it away to get a Lou Williams, although it would be very nice to get a guy like him.
Yes, that was going on to my next question, or next topic was the Timberwolves. They're sitting at the 4 seed right now, half game out of the 3 seed to San Antonio. They could take that if San Antonio does lose to the Suns tonight, and the Timberwolves do play Cleveland later tonight. Hopefully that's a win. I don't know if I should say expecting a win, because with Cleveland, it's kind of like,
even though they've been struggling, yeah, it's still one of those deals. You're just it's still LeBron, it's still all these guys that have finals experience, and then there's us that are just kind of up and coming. Finally, it'll be an interesting game here tonight. I'm excited to watch it.
Cavs are like, I want to say like, yes, we can win this game. Like, we have a great chance. They're struggling. Like, there's no Kevin Love. Isaiah Thomas is not playing well.
Isaiah Thomas is literally playing the worst basketball in the league, I think, right now. It's not good. I think he's shooting 23% from the 3. I think the highlights I saw last night, he just shot a shot. He looked like me at City League, hitting the side of the backboard on a 3 or something. He's just not playing good.
Yeah, it's kind of reminded me of me yesterday when I played intramural, when I go into the huddle and it's like, okay, guys, we really should work the paint. Then 2 seconds later, I bring up the ball and chuck a 30-foot 3 and missed. But I don't
basketball
know.
Awareness, Andrew. It's basketball awareness.
It was a struggle. We only lost by 4 last night, though, so I'm pretty proud of it.
There you
go. Yeah, I think the Wolves have a really good chance of getting that 3rd seed in the West. They're only half game out. OKC is, cut. They had I think it was like a 6-5 game lead. Now it's dwindled down to 2.5. I was not expecting OKC to blow out the Warriors by that much last night.
Especially on the road as well.
Yeah, and Melo got hurt. I was shocked. So even if the Wolves don't get number 1 in their division, I do expect San Antonio to drop to the 5 seed eventually, just with Kawhi Leonard out, unless this is a big unless. If they make a huge trade, and that person that I'm thinking of is, if they get Kemba Walker, then they could potentially keep that third seed in the West. But
who gets Kemba?
The Spurs. The Spurs could get Kemba. That's where I think that he could potentially end up.
But the thing there is Michael Jordan. Who's he gonna want from the Spurs in order to give up? Because you're not going to get a good draft pick.
No,
It
you're
would
not.
almost have to be a three-team trade in order for that to work out.
And like, I also had heard rumors that like Kawhi Leonard was on the trade, like getting traded too, and LaMarcus wanted out earlier in the offseason that we didn't hear for till about a month ago. It's like the Spurs, like overall, like they're a good team, but then like there's so much of these trade rumors coming out. It's like, well, where do we start like building around? And I think it's around Kawhi Leonard. I don't think you could give up a guy like that because he's a potential. I think he's like a top 10 player when healthy in the league.
Uh, Sorry, you're talking Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, top 10 player in the league.
He's
Oh,
top five
you think he's a top
player.
five?
Yo, no doubt. He's a top five player when healthy. He could be a. You could argue he'd be a top three player. He's that good.
I think he's the best defender in the league.
Well, there's no doubt about that. But then you put in his offense abilities as well. I mean, he's a top five player, no doubt, in the league right now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to say like why would as a coach or as a Spurs fan to say like, well, I think we should trade our best athlete. The guy's like 26 years old. Like he's not like an aging vet. Like this guy still has a lot of room to grow, but like it seems like he's already had like he's already reached like his prime. I think you're not going to get I don't know if you can get any more from him. Can you at this point? Like he can hit the three, his mid-range is good. His driving is really well. He hits the free throw at a high rate. Good playmaker. Like he's basically if you were any lower team like the Bulls, Magic, or Hawks, this is a guy that I would want on my team like right now. Like
Oh, exactly, and that's Quiet Leonard's elite like that.
he's so quiet. Like you never hear from him, but it's like he's still
Exactly,
a top
he
five
does
player.
the Spurs way. I don't see the Spurs at all trading him. If they do, I'd be very very shocked. Just I don't know if people are just trying to find the little things to nitpick at him. There's probably some struggle. There's struggle in every NBA locker room that way, especially when you're not doing well. But hey, they're the 3 seed. He's been hurt. Yeah, he's probably pissed off the way they've been handling his rehab or whatnot. I think that was a report.
Yep.
But ultimately, he'll be a Spur for life, I believe.
Yeah, I'd personally be absolutely shocked if I saw this guy go anywhere. If we look at the trade deadline too, there's rumors that like half the Cavs team was going to be traded too. Kevin Love, Isaiah Thomas. There was a trade that had them going to the Jazz with the little game of the trade machine. Do you think any of those guys could be gone? And then if they do, I think it's you can play the "na na na hey hey goodbye" song with LeBron because he's gone if those two guys are gone.
Well, LeBron, everyone believes this, and I believe this too, is how he runs the show in Cleveland. I mean, he does what he wants. He just the reports now he cussed out two executives over the handling of things. He did a couple teams, I guess, big time teams tried to make a trade for LeBron this week, but he said no, I'm not going to waive my no trade clause because I want to finish things out here in Cleveland. So things are in chaos in Cleveland. The whole Isaiah Thomas hasn't been working out. He's just been terrible. Granted, he is coming back from a bad hip injury. That takes time to overcome that. It amazes me how they are struggling. You got Tristan Thompson. You paid him all that much money. He's not doing anything. Will they make a trade if they could get DeAndre Jordan to Cleveland with trading most of their role players? How much is that really going to help Cleveland? I don't know. I don't think it's really going to bring him back. I mean, there's 7.5. There's 7.5 games out from Boston for the number one spot. Toronto's 1 game back from Boston right now. They got a lot of room to work here to get back into the thick of the top 2 seeds, and I just don't know if trading for a guy of DeAndre Jordan's going to do that.
They had offered a trade, and it wasn't a bad trade. It was Tristan Thompson, a number one overall pick, and J.R. Smith, which is I don't think that's half bad of a trade, and they declined it.
Well, the big thing is the owner Dan Gilbert is so high on keeping this Brooklyn Nets pick, which is just ridiculous. Because right now it's looking like it's only going to be a 7th or 8th overall pick. So That's not that great, even though it should be a deep NBA draft class coming up this summer. You are built right now. You have the greatest player, arguably, of all time, people will make. Trade it away. Get something for it. You need help. This team needs help. That pick, win now. You should be in a win now mentality. And he's so caught up that LeBron's going to leave this offseason, which he very well probably could, but I honestly don't think he will, just because of the whole maybe legacy thing. If he does go to the West, I just don't understand why, because the West is so tough, and if he comes, it's only going to get harder. But you're in a win now mode. You're playing in a fairly weak East. Trade the pick, get something for it, and save the season.
Yeah, it's just I don't know what to think of the whole LeBron like leaving Cleveland thing. It's just I don't know. I just think we're overhyping it like we usually do with LeBron. Like, oh, well, he could go back to Miami. Well, he might go to the Spurs. Oh, he might go to the Warriors. Like, I don't want to know anything until he like says, okay, I'm gonna opt out of my contract and leave. If he opts out of contract and leave, then I'll start making assumptions. But right now, I think stays in Cleveland because that's where I think he best fits. Because if he goes to a team like the Warriors, he's not going to have the same role as he is here. He's going to be just like Kevin Durant is. He's not going to run the team. Steph Curry's going to run the team. It's like the Lakers, he could run the team though. Like that's the only team that I see him potentially going to.
It's going to make for another amazing NBA offseason, as it always is. Every offseason in the NBA is just it's fun. It's almost better than the regular season.
It is.
The whole season in the during the what am I trying to say here? The NBA offseason is better than the actual NBA season. I
Yes.
mean, it's just so much. It's fun to watch these players go other places and then just the drama. It's amazing.
Yeah. Yep. And then the other players at the trade deadline that were rumored, obviously, we talk about Lou Williams. It's a good chance that he's not going to be there. Tyreek Evans.
Well, Lou Williams might stay now just because of the 3-year deal he signed today.
I, the Clippers could be playing games like, well, we just signed him. Now you're gonna have to up your offer, but I don't think that's the case. I think he stays.
I think he'll stay too after signing that deal.
Yeah, I mean, look what happened to Blake Griffin though. So I gotta say
That is true. That is true.
If we look at the other players, we have Tyreek Evans. I can see him going to a team like Cleveland once again, the Celtics, teams that need backup help. He can fit that role perfectly because Dwayne Wade's aging. You can't have him play 30 minutes a game. Bring in a younger guy like Tyreek Evans, who's been playing well for the Grizzlies, fits the team perfectly, fits the Celtics perfectly too. They're in the same situation. You could trade a guy like Marcus Smart, who's still, I think, on a rookie contract, so you can trade him, get another prime, I guess you can put it as a prime vet right now. Hassan Whiteside has been rumored to be traded. Goran Dragic, I personally don't see them going anywhere. That's the heart and soul of the Heat right there. You're not just going to get rid of it. But otherwise, there's not a lot really going on. But Chandler, there's a game I wanted to play with you right now. If you had to pick between any player in the NBA and you're starting your own franchise to build around, who is that player?
Oh man, there's so many young talented players. Uh, man, it depends if I mean right off the top of my head, I think of Joel Embiid because I'd love to start my franchise with him. Just I feel like he's that good of a player, but I don't think he's going to play that long in the league. I think he could retire after he's 30 years old, to be honest, because I don't think his back's going to hold up. I just don't his knees. I don't think he's going to hold up very well. You got a guy like Karl Anthony Towns, uh, very obviously one of the better young players in the league too. But this year it's been disappointing watching him play. It's the addition of Jimmy Butler has dropped his production off, but I still think he's very capable of being the face of the franchise, and he ultimately will be someday of the Wolves. But right now it is Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, what you talked about. A young upcoming player, a guy, great locker room guy, off the court's not going to get in a whole lot of trouble. it is so hard. Giannis Antetokounmpo for the Bucks. That's
That's my
another
pick.
guy.
That's my
That is
pick.
that your pick?
Yeah.
Just looking. I just saw the Milwaukee Bucks pop up. I don't necessarily know if I could start one. Ben Simmons is a nice guy to go with. There's so many young players that you're just like, oh my, right there, that guy. I would love to start a franchise with him. But based off of this season, I if you would have asked me this question last year, I had said Karl Anthony Towns, no doubt. But right now, I'm thinking I would probably have to go with a Kawhi Leonard. I just think he brings so much to a team, and he's just a good guy off the court, and he gets it done on the court. And he's just a team guy. He's a win guy. I think I'd go with Kawhi Leonard. That's who I'd go with.
Yeah, I think my guy would be Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, this guy is like almost like a second this guy doesn't come around very often. Who gets a 6'10" point guard that has the like ability of basically being a playmaker? He's got the athletic ability to dunk. We see it almost every game. This guy's a freak. Like when they call him the Greek freak, it's no laughing matter. Like he could. The only thing that he, I think personally, needs to improve on is his 3-point shooting. But otherwise, this guy, it's scary. That's all I gotta say.
If he can develop a solid jump shot and hit down threes consistently, he's going to be the best player in the world.
Yeah. Okay. So we talked about the NBA there. Now, last segment here, and we will probably head out of here. This is gonna be the longest pep talk show. We're going about almost an hour. So
Wow.
a lot of talking, but a lot of good talk. So we got spring training coming up in a couple weeks. What can we expect from what expectations going into MLB? Like, what team do you think is kind of the talk of the MLB? What team do you think is gonna get overlooked?
So the talk of the NBA,
Or
I mean
MLB?
MLB.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, we're on the MLB. The talk of the MLB, definitely the Yankees. The moves they made, bringing in Stanton from the Marlins. Uh, they're head and shoulders. I mean, I think they're going to be the best team. They could use probably another pitcher in that rotation. Did I say NBA again?
No.
Okay,
You
I
wa-
said I might have,
Alright.
but MLB,
Yeah.
MLB. But I the Astros are going to be the favorite. They did nothing but help themselves again this offseason.
And
They
they have
got.
Matt Kemp, so it doesn't like.
I mean, they're the Astros will be the favorite to win it because they're just so young and they got everyone coming back. I mean, they added a couple pieces. They're the favorite, but I think the talk of the MLB is the New York Yankees and what they're going to do because I think Stanton is going to could hit round 70 home runs this year because of the wiffle ball stadium they play in Yankee Stadium. Then he also play in Boston a few times. That's not a very deep park. The guy's going to hit, I think, about 70 home runs. Granted, if he stays healthy.
And then you play like in Toronto, where it's a possible dome, so you don't have any weather really affecting out there. And I'm not saying it's a home run derby like park, but the fact that you play inside and you don't have to worry about the wind, like that helps a lot for a power hitter. But the problem is, it's like for a Twins fan, like you see the Twins, like they could get you Darvish. Like the team is progressing a lot quicker than we expected, and now it's like, well, all these other teams are making moves, and
Well,
it's like,
Well,
come
it's just
on.
it literally. You're right. It's just like finally, as a Twins fan, it's like all right, finally we're back. We're gonna be good again. We're gonna be good for a few years. We got nice young players. We got this new regime in that's gonna change things around. We're gonna get bigger, better players in there. And the Yankees are down now. All of a sudden, the Yankees are head and shoulders way better than us. And I mean, it's just like, of course, the Twins. The day the Twins finally overcome and beat the New York Yankees will probably be one of the greatest days of my life. I don't know when that day is going to come, but I hope it comes soon. But just right when the Twins are going to be good again, the Yankees are good. So we can just never overcome the damn Yankees.
Well, let's say this. Hopefully, like I don't hope for injuries, but let's just hope for the Yankees to have some type of flop with Giancarlo Stanton or Aaron Judge, because I'm not going to be a Debbie Downer, but Giancarlo Stanton hasn't been the most healthy guy in his career either in his career. Just remember that. So
And we got to remember how Judge did go on that. He can struggle for times. He strikes out a lot. He's a guy that strikes out a lot. Stanton will strike out a lot. it'll be interesting to see, but they have just so many nice other pieces, and the Yankees have a great farm system right now too. They have a lot of younger players that they can work with and trade to get better if they do need a pitcher or another bat in the lineup.
Yeah, they do have like Gary Sanchez, is it Gregorius?
Gregorius.
Like and start they've
They have
started.
I believe his name is the Flores. He's one of the top five
Yeah,
prospects in the MLB. I believe he plays second or shortstop. They got a lot of nice pieces.
Starlin Castro's still there.
Nope, he got dealt to the Marlins.
Yep.
So talk about the Marlins. I mean, Derek Jeter changing that place around.
Man, that must suck to be a Marlins fan. Like you get Derek Jeter, and like, what do you expect? Well, our best player gets shipped off.
This
That
looks like he's doing the Moneyball thing. He's just gonna blow everything up, and
like
hopefully it'll work out.
that team was supposed to be like it said not to be a Debbie Downer, but with like the passing of for like Jose Fernandez, and then you have Giancarlo Stanton, Yelich becoming a good player. Like that team looked pretty good coming in to this
Exactly.
season. If that none of that would have happened, like,
Exactly.
and then okay, so we talked about the Twins a little bit. We talked about our expectations. The last thing we'll talk about is Yu Darvish. Is he a Twin?
It's so hard to tell. I could see him declining, maybe going back to the Dodgers. I believe what the Cubs are in the mix with them.
Cubs are always in the mix now.
Exactly, they're a powerhouse there. Uh, It's so hard to see, or it's so hard to say, because you have Adam or not
Thad Levine.
Thad Levine, Adam Levine, not the singer from Maroon 5, but Thad Levine, Derek Falvey. They've said like, oh, since we made the postseason, so many guys are more interested in us now. We'll sign someone, do something. I mean, they did some work this offseason, but it's like if all these big name guys want to come here, then sign them if you're willing to open up the paycheck. I think they are willing to pay you Darvish, but I just don't know if I'm you Darvish. I'm a Minnesota homer. I would love to play for the Twins, but living in L.A. or going to Minnesota, it depends really. And they haven't even. It sounds like they haven't even met with the guy to really discuss things over, from what I've read and understand. So I think Levine's really banking on just his connection and trust he built up with him at the time they were with the Rangers. But we'll see. I don't know where he'll end up. Maybe he'll go to the Brewers. Brewers are like that one question you asked. What's an upcoming team that I think the Brewers can make some noise this year and at least make the playoffs.
Yeah, the Brewers are under radar team. I think that with the signing of they had Lorenzo Kane. I don't like the deal, but then they got Christian Yelich.
I think Lorenzo Kane has got another solid year left in him. He is getting older, and that's a lot of money to give an older guy. You're going to be paying him quite a few bucks for a guy that's going to be in his late 30s.
Yeah, it kind of is like the Twins. Like they have offensive pieces that they can work with. Now with the Twins, we have the question of the Miguel Sano incident, where he will be at coming in August or not August, excuse me, April if he's going to be playing. Like we had mentioned this earlier.
Now you got Irvin Santana that is
The
going to be
figure
out
issue.
for a few months.
Yeah, I expect him to be back by May, though, early May, mid-May. But yeah, I'm willing to pay you, Darvish, like a chunk of change because this is the Twins. Like they need to get a star player, and if you're gonna get him, you gotta get him now. You can't wait a couple of years.
And depending on how long Miguel Sano's out, I think they, even if with Miguel Sano in the lineup, they need a DH guy in there. They need a guy that can step in, be the DH, have that power threat, but also I think play a corner outfield position as well. Fill in for Kepler, Rosario. Robbie Grossman did a nice job last year, but I want a guy that has a little bit more pop to his bat and has a bigger threat in the lineup.
Yeah, there's a ton of guys still on free agency. Unfortunately, it's been an hour. We got things to do. We got to meet with someone here around top of the hour. But Chandler is good. What we got one more thing?
I got one more thing. I don't know if I botched back to the Frank Reich thing. I believe I'm saying his name right. Someone correct me, whoever listens to this. And also, he came back and beat the Houston Oilers, not the Raiders.
Okay. Yes. There's some clarification there, but this is the end of Pep Talk. Chandler, it's good to have you on here this week. I believe we might have Andrew Holton come on next week, and I did a podcast with you guys, so the invitation's there for you again next week if we want to do one too. So,
Hey, I'll always be available to come on to the show. Thanks for having me.
yeah, it's good talking to you. We'll see you guys next Wednesday, and we will catch you later.